Yeah, I know that you made a statement on China, which is the other big story right now, and I want to talk to you about trade as well as the national security risks. The White House pushing for the passage of USMCA, saying it will boost economic growth and create jobs as the U.S.-China trade battle goes on. Before we get into China, do you expect USMCA to pass?
I do. I am very hopeful, but now the pressure is on the House to make sure that it is moving. So we will keep encouraging our constituents to reach out to our delegations in the House, put the pressure on Speaker Pelosi to actually honor her obligation in passing, and so we can get this ratified quickly.
So, you know, the Speaker has said she's not sure if it's actually even going to come to the floor. I mean, I know it will probably pass if it comes to the floor, but is it even possible that she wouldn't bring it to the floor this year?
Well, she needs to bring it to the floor, and she needs to encourage her members to be supportive of this deal. We've worked very hard and long on this. And in Iowa, it's very important. 1 in 5 jobs in Iowa is tied directly to trade. And Canada and Mexico are 2 of our largest trading partners. So we do want to make sure that we're good trade partners to our neighbors. We've seen the tariffs, the 232 tariffs removed by the president. He did that last Friday. Very supportive of his actions. Now we need to move on the USMCA.
Yeah, I mean, your constituents are getting impacted by all of this. We want to talk about broadband for rural America. You are part of a bipartisan effort to increase access to the high-speed internet in rural areas, and we know that in certain rural areas of this country, Huawei is being used.
Right, exactly. And through this bill, we're able to help these smaller rural telecom companies with regulation. There are so many overwhelming, burdensome regulations coming from the federal government that can apply to larger companies, but it's detrimental to these small rural telecom companies. One company that I heard from in Northeast Iowa, annually, if it had to file with the SEC, it would cost about $800,000 to $1 million. That's pretty significant for folks in the rural areas. So if we can help ease that burden, certainly we'd love to do so.
So will you be able to pick up the lost communication as a result of Huawei? How does the Huawei ban and now today's reprieve, temporary reprieve, impact your constituents in rural America?
Well, certainly it will be tough, but we will find a way. We certainly need to move away from China. We need to move away from Huawei in these areas. And the president is very encouraging. So I think that we will find a way. We will continue developing here in the United States, and we'll make it much easier for our folks in rural America.
Yeah, we were having a conversation earlier, Dagan and I, about this China partnership. And for a long time, many people looked at this as just an economic story and a trade story, but there are real national security risks having to do with China, whether it's Huawei or their behavior elsewhere in terms of their efforts to try to overtake the U.S. military. Give us your sense of the national security risks around China and what can be done about it, and how important a trade deal is in all of that, and tariffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I always look at trade and I look at national security. They go hand in hand. China needs to be a good trade partner with us. They have treated the United States horribly for many years with the theft of intellectual property, enforced technology transfers, and the utilization of many of their products is a national security risk when we look at technology. So we do need to move away from those products. We need to make sure that China is a fair trade partner, and all of that the president has been working very hard on. We will be visiting with Bob Lighthizer, the U.S. trade rep, today at our luncheon, and we expect to hear a lot more about China coming from Mr. Lighthizer today.
Senator, it's Dagan McDowell. You won that seat in the Senate running on the fact that you come from a family that raised hogs. And I remember that ad very well. What is going on with the hog farmers in your state and the farmers who were very negatively impacted with the fight with China over this trade deal?
This has been very, very hard on our hog farmers and our soybean farmers. Of course, the tariffs from China make it very difficult on those producers. And I have heard from a number of those farmers, one hog farmer in particular. He and his young wife, they had hoped to take over their father's operation. And he stated, I can't do that now. I've had to take off-farm employment to make ends meet. The tariffs have been very, very detrimental to them, very hard. That's why we need a deal deal with China soon. But you know what? The president, he is doing the right thing. It was China that backed away from these negotiations. We had moved along so well, and then China basically went back on everything that they had already agreed to. So the president is using the tariffs as leverage, but I'm telling you, our farmers are feeling the pinch. We'd like to see these done soon, these trade deals done soon.
Well, I mean, if they don't agree to the national security issues in terms of the theft of IP, as far as other behavior, the monitoring of all of its citizens, including Americans, I mean, can you actually do a trade deal when you've got these other open questions? Or do you need them to make that Chinese law, which initially they had, I guess, said that they would, and then reneged on?
Yes, and I believe that they need to move ahead with that. China needs to honor its obligations, and it can't just be just a regulation. It does need to be codified. The Chinese decided they didn't want to do that at the last minute, but we need to push them further. We have a strong, healthy economy. It is really doing quite well. The Chinese are not doing as well, and so we hope that we can bring them to the table. Let's agree to a trade agreement. Let's move forward.
Senator, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Senator Joe